How are you, Michael?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can, sir.
Great.
Can you all hear me okay as well?
Yes.
I'm in.
Hey, David, how are you?
Doing good, sir. How are you?
Not too bad at all.
Mike, did we receive green card receipts for a butter notification?
Got him.
Perfect, okay.
So we're waiting for Donna.
Joe Carey?
Yeah, Joe and Brad. Hopefully Brad will be joining us.
I'm here. Did you get that? Joe
Oh, yeah, I
Carey?
see Joe.
How you doing, Joe?
Good. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
We will need Brad here just in case that doesn't get resolved tonight, because we'll need
Right.
a full set
Yep.
if this will be continued, since Mr. Palino is joining the town council.
Yes. I did send that email letting people know that we probably need everybody on deck. Does anybody have Brad's phone number?
I do not.
You don't?
No, sir. Sorry to say.
Yeah, I just updated all the contacts, but it's in my office, unfortunately.
I have his cell phone if you want it.
Okay, can you just send it to me in the messenger if you can?
All right, let me get it. I gotta check.
Or email it to me.
All right, I'll message it to you. I just gotta go get it. I think it's my wife's.
Okay, thanks. I mean, we're still waiting on Donna too, so
All right.
thank you.
Michael, can you see me okay on video? Am I coming through?
Yeah, let me.
I didn't.
Yep, I see you.
didn't know.
I see you
can't
just
tell.
fine.
Okay, good.
What, are you on your phone or something?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I
Okay.
decided to use my phone. It's much
Yeah.
easier. My corporate laptop.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just noticed your portrait instead of landscape, that's all.
Okay. This is the first time, Michael, I think we've had a zoning board meeting and a town council meeting in the same night, believe it or
Oh,
not.
really?
Yeah.
We're making history.
Well, I think it's still it was a good idea to do it. Get it over with, do it tonight, rather than to keep putting it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get it on. I know
Yeah.
Mr. Brewer's been waiting for a while.
The
So.
applicant's been waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Julia,
Yes,
a question.
sure.
Do I need to formally resign at this meeting? How do I handle that since I'll be attending the the town council meetings going forward?
I don't think you need to formally retire tonight. You know what? That's a good question. I have the book in front of me, but I don't know.
Well, it's not a big deal. I was just wondering if we needed to get it on the record while the record was being recorded, because I know you guys need to be free to proceed with everything, all the business on the agenda later on.
Yeah, as long as Brad's present and everyone's here, I think if this were to get continued, because we want to make sure that if this does have to go beyond tonight, we want to make a motion and formally continue it so that we don't need to re-advertise and send any new notice. They'd be able just to say at the beginning of the next meeting that you're now part of the town council. However, the alternate member was present at the time that this was initially heard. Therefore, there were 5 zoning board of review members present to hear this, and all 5 may vote.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, sorry I'm late, everyone. I could not get on with my laptop, so I had to run into the other room.
How are we doing, Donna?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Donna, I think we're still waiting for Brad Smith.
Well, yeah, hold on a second. Hey, Julia, I got Brad Smith on the line here. He doesn't think he's going to be able to make it. Brad, so do you think you said before 7:30, or can you make it at all?
No, I gotta be in Barville for I gotta be on the ice for 7:30.
Oh yeah, he unfortunately he's not going to be able to make it.
I'd have to be out of there by like 10 or 7. You know what I mean? To even be somewhat remotely close.
Okay. Well, Brad's saying he can participate somewhat, but he's got to be out by 7 o'clock. That seems like enough time to get through most of the petition. I mean, Brad, if you can join, that'd be great. Julia, you look like you're going to say something.
It could take me about 10 minutes to get over there.
About 10 minutes.
I'm totally dirty and a mess.
It's remote, Brad. So it's through Zoom.
Oh, I don't do that stuff.
Okay.
I don't even, I got a flip phone over here.
Michael, can you send him a link in your text message to his cell phone so we can join via the cell?
I think he said he doesn't do Zoom.
I know my corporate doesn't allow Zoom as well, so I have to do it on my personal machine.
But he may mean that he doesn't do online meetings. I'm not sure. But if he has a cell phone, he can just click the link in the agenda.
Yeah.
To join, but
Okay.
you have to have Zoom downloaded to your phone.
Everybody, I'm going to have Brad is going to call in from his phone. I'm going to give him the call-in number, the meeting ID, so he will call in from his phone. Julie, is that acceptable?
Give me 1 second. If
Okay.
memory serves, I just have to double check that it applies for the zoning board as well as the town council. They need to be visible in order,
They need to be
in order
visible.
not to violate
Okay.
the OMA.
Right.
Okay, yeah, if you can check
Yeah,
on
give
that,
me
that'd be
1
great.
sec.
Okay, thanks. All right, he's going to call in while we're waiting for an answer on that from Julia.
Okay, I'm looking through.
Brad, are you there?
I am.
Okay, great. I can hear you.
That's a
All
good
right,
thing.
so Brad, we're just waiting for Julia to confirm that it's okay for you to be participating just via phone without being visible.
Okay.
This is hour number 11 on the video conference for me.
Oh, really?
This is life now.
I know, right?
All right, so I didn't find anything that says that they have to be on video. I
Okay.
think so long as in attendance, when you guys take roll, he says that he's here, it should be okay.
Okay.
It just says that we have to provide, I know zoning board falls under open meetings because there's the public meeting aspect and the right to the public meeting.
Absolutely.
So it does fall within the Open Meetings Act for that. As far as the executive orders, it just, things that fall under open meetings, we just have to provide the Zoom information and access to the meeting at a low cost or no cost option, which we did. So there's nothing that explicitly says that they have to be on video. And at 1618, Kayla O'Rourke, which is the AG that handles the open government stuff, is no longer in the office, so I can't give her a call. So this is
Okay. I know we've had issues where there have been board members and other boards and stuff where like their camera just isn't working or something like that, and they've had to participate just through voice like that. You know, but obviously, if you don't have explicit clarification on, we'll just proceed.
Yep.
Okay. So David, if you want to call it to order.
Sure. The Forster zoning board meeting is called to order at 6:19 p.m. Can I have a roll call?
Donna Catria,
Here.
Manny Linares,
Here.
Brad Smith,
Yeah.
I'm Joe Carey, I'm here. David Paolino.
Present. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Brewer, can I ask you a question, sir?
Certainly.
Are you okay with Mr. Smith being on audio only?
Yes. I am.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay,
Just
so
for-
is any, I'm sorry?
Just for clarification for Mr. Brewer's knowledge, Mr. Smith has to be present because going forward after tonight, Mr. Paolino will no longer serve on the zoning board. So just to ensure that we have a full 5-member board for you going forward who has heard the whole situation, Mr. Smith is available. If we are able to resolve this, get this all set and ready to go tonight, and there's a vote on it tonight, not to say Mr. Smith doesn't matter, but it's not as necessary for Mr. Smith to be present because Mr. Paolino is present and able to participate fully tonight.
I understand.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you. All right, so has everyone had a chance to read the minutes dated January 8th, 2020?
Yes.
Manny?
Yes, I have.
Brad?
No, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. All right, Joe Carey?
Yes, I reviewed
Is
it.
there any issue or discussion other than I believe I might have had I might have been looking at a copy that was dated 2019, but I did get from Mike Antonellis a copy Wednesday, January 8th, 2020 meeting minutes. So can I entertain a motion that we accept the minutes as written?
David, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as they were presented.
Second?
I'd second that.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to new business. Joe
Rod,
Carey, do you want to
need to vote.
read?
Yeah, I think you need to vote on that.
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I got to do a roll call.
Aye.
Because it-
Donna Carchia.
Go ahead, Joe.
Donna,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
and David.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Julia. Okay, so Joe Carey, would you like to read the application, that paragraph of the application for the record?
Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals, public hearing 15 Plainfield Pike, Plat 19, Lot 9. Owner Peter Brewer seeks a dimensional variance from the Town of Foster zoning ordinances, Article 4, uses Section 38-192, dimensional regulations. 1A, relief is needed to replace a lawfully established mobile home located in town prior to July 1st, 1971, which is non-conforming by dimension on a substandard lot with a single-family detached dwelling. The current building has less than the required side and rear setbacks, making it non-conforming by dimension. The proposed single-family detached dwelling will be less non-conforming by dimension, but still within the less than required side and rear setbacks. The current side and rear setbacks are 40 and 9, respectively. And the proposed replacement side and rear setbacks will be 42 and 27 feet, respectively.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so next, moving on, we want to hear from Mr. Brewer. Mr. Brewer, are you ready to present your case?
Yes.
Can you state your name and address for the record?
Peter Brewer. I've since moved from where I was when I filled out the application. I was previously at 501 Field Hill Road, Clayville, Rhode Island. I'm now presently residing at 773 Tunk Hill Road, Situate, Rhode Island.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
everyone except for attorneys needs to be sworn in to the record.
Oh,
If he's going to testify, he needs to be sworn in.
thank you. That would be Cindy.
You swear
Cindy,
to
I
tell-
think are you on mute?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Peter Burke Brewer.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Are we good? We can proceed?
Now that he's sworn in, do you mind just repeating your address for us?
Yes, I will. The address on the application dated in July was 501 Field Hill Road, Clayville, Rhode Island. I recently sold that residence and moved to 773 Tunk Hill Road, Situate, Rhode Island, 02825.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brewer, so please go forward, make your case.
Okay, so I'm looking to build there's a mobile home. There's actually, I guess you guys, I'll take it, people are somewhat familiar with this piece of property. I've owned it for quite a while. There's about 8 buildings plus a mobile home on the site at this time, totaling around 2,200 square feet. None of those buildings comply with any setback regulations. They're all going to be torn down under my plan and replaced with a single family ranch style home with a garage, L shape. The L shape was a change from my original proposal of a year ago to reduce the number of setback requirements on each side. Okay, so I'm looking to, because of the placement of the septic system and the placement of the existing well, that's how I had this house designed. Well, the house isn't designed. The footprint of the house is designed so that it would only impinge on the back property line 27 feet. It would follow the property lines as they presently exist roughly. So it would be about a 27 or more feet off the back property line. The side property line would be 42 where it's now existing 40 feet. I'm looking to get rid of the mobile home, which was built in 1969. So you can imagine that it's seen its better days. It has 2 additions on it. It's a 3-bedroom. It has 2 additions on it that actually moved it even closer to the rear property line. That's where the 9 feet comes from. If anybody's familiar with that piece of property, there was an addition put on the back side. Can't really see it from the road. You can see the roof from the road. That was a bedroom addition. I don't know when it was put on. And then on the end of it, there's an addition that was put on. The approximate total square footage now is somewhere around 11 or 1,200 square feet. Anyways, I'm looking to get rid of everything on the lot, the 8 buildings plus the mobile home, and just build a ranch style mobile home and attached garage with the requirements. It's a half-acre lot. The lot was established sometime prior to 1922. I don't know what its use history was prior to the early late 60s, 70s. I know it's been used and zoned a couple of different ways. I know in approximately 2005 in that area, it was given a zoning approval to be a commercial business operating a small engine repair shop. I don't know a lot about the history of all of it. But all that history is in the past. I'm looking to, last year I had gone before plan and I talked about the possibility of replacing the mobile home with another mobile home that
Excuse me,
work out.
Mr. Brewer, excuse me 1 second.
Yes.
Brad Smith, can you put your phone on mute, sir?
Sure.
Please. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Brewer.
So when I went, I wanted to locate the new mobile home in a similar position, and I guess it's a little above my pay grade, but the ultimate decision was at that time that I could replace the mobile home, but it had to go exactly where the existing mobile home is, which was 9 feet off the rear property line, et cetera, et cetera. So I scratched that plan. the plan of replacing the mobile home in kind, and went to the new plan of building a small ranch on the property. So that's a little bit of the history and where I want to go with it. I don't have anything really more to add to it than that. When I was at planning asked me to have this class 1 survey performed. So that was performed, and I hope you all got a copy. I know it was kind of last minute, but I didn't have a lot of time to get the survey done and get it over to Mr. Antonellis to get it out to you guys. I hope you all got it. It was finalized on the 5th of November.
I was able to send it out to the board. Hopefully you all received it. I did provide paper copies at the police station for whoever wanted to pick up a hard copy. Just a quick note, Mr. Chair, Zephyr Inkpen just joined us, the other appointed member of the board. She joined in partly during Mr. Brewer's a description of the application. Julia, can she still vote as she joined in during?
Yes,
Okay.
but I am going to, at what point did she join in? At what point in Mr. Brewer's explanation did she join in?
Well, Zephyr, you can.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for being late. My computer was having some technical issues, and I finally just dialed in on the phone. I'm trying to reinstall Zoom right now. I dialed in right when he was explaining that previously the thought was to replace the mobile home in the same area, like just to the very end of it. But I have reviewed all of the paperwork sent over as well.
Okay, just for consistency purposes, and so that any other individuals, such as abutters, anybody else listening in, doesn't argue that you can't validly vote. Mr. Brewer, I'm just going to ask you to kind of just kind of reiterate the very beginning of what you said.
Okay.
Just,
And apologies again, and many thanks.
just
Okay. I appreciate
what your plan is and
everybody's
what the
time.
current setback is and that type of stuff, okay?
Okay, so the current occupied, or the current living space, the mobile home that's on site, forget about all the other buildings that are gonna be torn down. That building is currently 40 feet off of the west side of the property and 9 feet off the back of the property. I am proposing to replace the mobile home in all of the 8 ancillary buildings on site with a single ranch-style home with a garage, with an attached garage that would have a 42-foot setback on the west side of the property and a 27-foot minimum setback on the rear of the property. The front of the property would meet the required setback. It would be 40.7 inches, and the east side of the property would have a minimum setback of 58.29 feet. Those dimensions, the large size dimension, the 58 feet, to allow the capacity for the design septic system that was approved, and the setback on the other side is kind of on the fact of where the well is. But I may replace that well. I don't need to necessarily replace that well, but it's a dug well rather than a drilled well. It tested out fine. I may ultimately, but right now that is the active well that's supplying potable water. And so that kind of also dictated where I could put the house on the west side.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think I was able to finally join via Zoom, hopefully, but I'll stay on the phone until it kicks in.
Okay, thanks, Zephyr.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike,
Yeah.
all the fees have been paid. I do not have a copy of the Class 1 survey.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
After you looked it over, is everything in order?
Yeah, everything appeared to be in order as far as a Class 1 survey. I mean, it was specific to the variances requested, which is, I'd say, standard. So it shows obviously the where the house is or proposed to be located on the property, in relation to the existing property lines and designating, or I should say, showing the distances between the proposed house and the property lines, giving us an accurate view or an accurate representation of the relief requested. So I'd say it's good.
Okay, I have not seen the orientation of the septic system on this hand-drawn pad that I have. Do we have an idea of where the orientation is of the septic system? I have the well drawn out as 30 feet off of the eastern side and 40 feet off of the southern side, or I'm sorry, 30 feet off the western side and 40 feet off the southern side, but I don't see any designation for where the septic design is going.
Yeah,
Here's
Dave,
the approved design from DEM. If you can see it, it's right in the very corner of the lot right here. That would be the southeast corner of the lot. But you don't have the plan either.
Hold on, I'm going to try and share it on the screen.
Yeah, I was hoping you could, Mike.
Yeah, I just attempted it. It looks like it's blocked, Michael.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah,
So
that was in our packet.
This is the outs plan. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So you see, obviously, this is the well here.
I'm not sure exactly with process, but is this a time to ask questions now, or should we wait until after abutters and are at least called?
Well, your hearing procedures through the chair.
Yep. I'm going to get to that.
Well, I just have it up right here.
One thing I do ask that before we open it up to abutters and discussion of the members of the board, Mike, if you could just put on record that we have in fact received the green cards back and that abutters were given proper notice, just so that it's part of the record.
Yeah, sure. I'll just go ahead and state that, yes, I received the green cards and the receipts showing that all abutters have been notified within 200 feet of the property, as well as I think the Providence Water Supply Board was notified, as well as I think the state and like the Attorney General's office, I think, was notified just because of ownership nearby, as well as Rhode Island DOT, who were also owners nearby.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Manny, if you have questions for Mr. Brewer, we can open it up to a question.
Yeah, David, it's totally up to you. I have quite a bit of questions. I just didn't know if you wanted to take them after the abutters went, or if you're going to take them now.
I think we can. I don't think we have Mike. Do we have any folks that are willing to speak for the applicant at this time?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it doesn't look like we have any abutters, but the typical process is that you ask if there are abutters present that want to speak for, and then abutters that want to speak against, and then non-abutters for, and then non-abutters against. But I'll just ask if there are any abutters present in the meeting right now to make themselves known. Go ahead and unmute yourselves and identify yourself.
I didn't see anyone. That's why I'm asking.
It's just us. Yep.
Okay, so there are no abutters present for the record. So we're going to move on. And I'm going to ask, since no abutters want to speak, we can place this out for discussion.
Okay, I have several questions.
Go ahead.
Mr. Brewer, you answered many of them in your starting dialogue. So I may ask a few again just to get clarification. So I apologize for that. But when did you actually acquire the property, just approximately?
January, I think I closed on it January of 2019,
Okay.
I believe.
So again, I'm not entirely sure of all of it, but when I read your application, it states that you're requesting relief on the side and rear setbacks. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And there was something written there was something written below that I actually couldn't read. It said current residential use began in 19, and there was a double strike of typewriter of sorts. I don't know if that's pertinent to your question or application, I should say. It looks like you were trying to write a date, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to guess.
Through the chair, I'm looking at the application, and Manny, I don't know if this is the section you're looking at, but I see under state grounds for special use, variance, or appeal, it says existing use began prior to zoning regulations enacted in 1969. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, I'll hold it up, but it actually, where's my camera? It actually shows like a 1-9 and a double strike, current residence use. So, and it is signed, so it was a photocopy. It wasn't sort of an electronic file that got mashed in the electronic world. I guess I'd be okay with you choosing whether it's important or not, so I can move past that one and run through my next several questions, if that's the case.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Julie.
So if it does say current residential use began in 1969, that's relevant because the zoning ordinance, the ordinances didn't go into effect until 1971, which means this predates, and there's a non-conforming use to have a building and have a, I believe residential properties require 5 acres in Foster generally. So because this is a ½ acre, this is a grandfathered non-conforming use.
Correct.
And so this just shows that it predates the fact that this was a residential property prior to zoning ordinances, and that it's been used, someone's lived there continuously. It just shows a lack of abandonment of the grandfathered non-conforming use. So the grandfathered non-conforming use can continue.
Thank you. That's the way I interpreted it too. Michael?
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay, I'll move past the question. I wasn't sure what it was trying to say, but it looked like a double strike. So again, I think that you said the square footage, but what is the square footage? I think per the application, I calculated about 960. Is that approximately it, or am I wrong?
The total footprint.
Existing of the dwelling.
Oh, existing?
Of the dwelling.
I honestly.
So Manny, are you asking what's the total square footage of the existing mobile home?
Yeah, I heard you mentioned 1,200 in your beginning, and your application was approximately 960. I have a point eventually, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not misinterpreting the documentation.
No, I guess it is around. It's somewhere's in that area.
Okay, and again,
I'm not doing. I don't know. I can do the math real quick.
I think, Manny, we actually have that in our paperwork. If you're looking for the original dimensions.
I can't hear you, Donna. Sorry at all.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
I'm sorry. If you look at the paperwork.
912.
With the photograph, this paperwork, can you see that?
Yeah, it says, I'm sorry.
It has, the first floor is 792 square feet with an open porch of 120 square feet and a wooden deck of 154 square feet.
Yeah, I only asked because I heard 1,200 and the application calculated 960.
No, 1,200 was what I was asking for last year when I was asking to replace it with a different mobile home.
Okay.
A 1,200-foot mobile home.
And how many bedrooms is the current dwelling?
The dwelling has 3 in it, and then they added 1 in the back.
Is that 4 or 3?
3,
Okay, 3 total?
yes.
And your new proposed dwelling, I calculated around 25, 22, is that correct?
That is, it's including the garage, that's the footprint, 25, 22.
Okay.
2,000 roughly on the house and 550 on the garage.
So starting off with the new clean slate, saying knocking down all of the I don't know, substructures or whatnot. Do you feel you've done everything you can to minimize the relief on your setbacks?
Yes. Yes.
Even though
Unless
you have,
the only way I guess it could be a 2-story house.
okay, so even though you have
I'm
5,
64 years old and getting ready to retire, I personally don't want a 2-story house. I had a 2-story house that I just sold in Clayville, and my house now is a colonial. I want a 1-level house.
okay, and then I didn't quite catch if the driveway if the driveway was going to be utilized as is, or the plan was to change it at all.
No, I don't see any need to change the location of the driveway. The way the driveway is well, if you're familiar with the property, it's got a pretty sharp drop off from the road. You can't come in 90 degrees from the road.
Okay. And then you answered that you're going to take care of all the other structures. So the document that was shown before of the OTWS, it looks like it was dated in 2019. So I'm assuming that's your new plan. And
Yeah, that's got to be renewed.
okay, and then additionally, the best I can tell, and again, I'm not in this field or understanding, but it looks like it's a 2-bedroom system.
It may be. It's a cesspool right now.
Yeah, but this isn't a cesspool because that's illegal in the state.
Well, they're not illegal. They have to be replaced. They have to be upgraded if they fail.
I don't know about that, but you can't put in a new one, so this can't be a cesspool. This has to be.
Oh, the new system's not. The new
Yeah,
system.
I saw Elgin.
An Elgin system.
Yep.
An Elgin system. But that was done in anticipation of putting another mobile home on the house.
Okay, I only asked.
That all may have to be updated to accommodate the house.
Okay, I only asked.
It won't be changed.
I only asked because if you're currently at a 4-bedroom and this is a 2-bedroom system, it makes me think that you may need to come back and change some of the relief requests because the system could get twice the size. And
I'm not asking for a 4-bedroom. I don't. There's not a 4-bedroom there presently. Presently, it is a 3-bedroom, and that's probably what I'm going to keep it as. I can't imagine that I need 4 bedrooms. I'm not asking for 4 bedrooms. I haven't designed the house yet. I haven't paid. I'm not going to pay for the design of the house and everything else until I get approval from zoning to go.
okay, are you planning on putting a 2-bedroom? Only because
No, it's probably a 3-bedroom.
Okay, I just don't understand if this would actually change your relief setbacks based on this saying 2-bedroom on the documentation and the square footage of the new dwelling. Again, I can't tell you if it's going to be more than a 2-bedroom, I would assume.
Yeah, but the only thing that would change, if at all, is there's plenty of room to go to a 4-bedroom system. The length of the Elgin system would be longer.
Yeah. But that you don't.
It would just go from, if you look at it from north to south, it would be a longer system. It wouldn't change the location of the house any.
Okay, I just don't know because it says 2-bedroom and I'm asking you. It looks like your driveway could be in the way, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking because I would hate to have this happen and then something change. I do have.
If anything would change, I'd have to reduce the size of the house.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what the property that abuts the back of the house actually is used for, or the purpose of it?
Yeah, it's all City of Providence Water Supply Board.
Okay.
Both sides of it,
Okay.
west and south.
So, all right, you just answered that question. So, I don't know, Julia, this one I don't know, and it might be for you to help guide me a bit.
Okay.
But, on the application itself, and this is gonna probably help with that 1969 date, but the application doesn't ask for frontage relief, which is, go ahead, Michael.
I can speak to that, yeah. There's no need for relief of frontage or lot area because the lot has been designated as a substandard lot of record. And what that means is obviously the lot itself has predated zoning. So, since the lot predates zoning, the lot dimensions predate zoning. So the lot dimensions obviously being the lot area and the frontage, those haven't changed. So the designation of a substandard lot of record carries through to today. So it's allowed to be built upon. So the only relief that is required is the setback relief.
Okay, I didn't know, because my next question involves, there's a part in the code, I'm gonna try to read it directly, that says, maximum building coverage at 3%. I'm assuming that probably isn't relieved by the previous designation of nonconformance, correct?
Right.
Okay. So I guess, Mr. Brewer, are you aware that the town has a 3% coverage in the code?
I guess I was not. I guess I must have missed that.
Do you have an estimate of where you are today?
Right today, yeah, it's about. I'm asking for about 12% by my calculations, and it probably has every bit of 12% of coverage right now with the 8 buildings plus the mobile home.
Yeah, I calculated it just in case. You're with all the buildings per your application, you're about 7.5%, which is over the 3%. But you're actually asking to increase it over 2.5 times to 14, almost 14.5% coverage.
It's under 12% coverage is what I'm asking for. And if you could hold on, I'll go out to my car, because I actually got in the car the dimensions of every building out there, and it comes to over 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, they weren't on the application though, so I only went by.
I'm sorry, Manny. I didn't mean to talk over you. Go ahead.
I only went by what was on the application, Mr. Brewer, and it came out to 960 for your dwelling. The 4 sheds came to a total about 596, and 596 and 960 is about 1556. And of the 21,577 square feet, it's approximately 7.2, 7.5. Just using your 2522 divided by 25,577, it comes to 14.4%. So I'm not gonna say you didn't mean 12 or whatever, but you're substantially over the 3%, and you're already your current is at 4. Your current per the application, you're currently at 4% with dwelling.
Is that, Manny, that 4% you're estimating, is that with all the other structures, or is that just the existing structure?
It was hard, Michael, because I didn't know how to answer this. That's why I'm asking the questions now. But the application claims that there's a mobile home that's 12 by 56, which is 672 square feet.
Right. Okay.
It looked like there was an addition set at 12 by 24, which is approximately 288 square feet. That totals 960. 960 divided by the 21,577, if my calculator is right, is 4%.
Yeah.
The additional sheds, which, if Mr. Brewer is talking about knocking them all down, I think we could almost consider them, current usage. And when you add them in, it's only about 7%. But either way, it's the town's got this 3% limit, and I think your request is substantially higher than that. Just asking if I'm reading the math correctly.
That's not, I don't know, I haven't done that math. I could do it real quick. When I did the math, and like I said, I go out to my car and I get the little notepad that I did it on. I was at over 2,000, about 2,100 square feet. The lot is 21,577 square feet. I'm asking for 2,522 footprint. If you divide that, if you multiply 21,577 times 12%, that would allow me a footprint of 2,590 would be 12%. I'm under the 2,590, so I'm asking for something less than 12%, about 11.5%. That is correct. I didn't realize that, I had to put that down. I mean, I've been working on this for 2 years, and that was never brought to my attention. It wasn't brought to my attention last year or this year. If we have to amend it, I'll amend it. But
yes. So I just redid the calculations to double check. You're asking for 11.7%, and
that's what I'm asking for.
And you're only at 4.
No, I'm at total building coverage right now is over 2,000 square feet, 2,100 square feet for total building coverage, all 8 buildings.
Yeah, I don't know how they actually weigh in. I just know that the current structure is about 4%.
That's correct. Probably the mobile home probably is 4%.
Okay. Yes, Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes.
And this is, that's a great catch, Manny. That building coverage, and for those who need a reference, it's in section 192 under the dimensional uses or dimensional regulations in the AR zone. It says maximum 3% building coverage, which I'll say is that's an odd term to use.
It's also on the documentation too.
Yeah, it's also on the documentation, but just for reference within the zoning ordinance. It's an odd terminology to use. Typically, you'd see lot coverage is the typical wording for that. So I'm not surprised it went unnoticed. But anyway, what I was going to say is that, and this is good information and great information for Mr. Brewer going forward. What's before the board tonight are the setback variances. So I think we need to focus the conversation really on those setback variances, and we can offer, I'd say, to Mr. Brewer and Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brewer can either choose to proceed with the setback variances requested tonight, or he can choose to hold off on that, any sort of determination on that, get some feedback from the building official as far as a determination on what would be captured under that building coverage, and whether or not he could leverage what is on the property now to whatever the new building coverage would be. If need be, if the building official thought that he needed to come back for a variance in order to allow for that, he could do that. So Julia, through the chair, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right.
So
I agree. Michael, Julia, I was going to ask, so for the record, the applicant will have to request how the coverage number percentage weighs in on this new proposed build.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And it can, if you guys decide to grant the setback variances that are requested, there can be conditions to the granting of this requested relief, and that can be put into your decision.
Okay, so the next question would have to be.
Sorry, before we go to the next question, could I just interject real quick on that current question? It's Zephyr. I was wondering if, because this is my first zoning board meeting, so apologies if I don't have anything correct, and thank you for being patient. But if the property has had buildings on it before the zoning board ordinances were put in place, and there are conditions for that for what's already been built there. Would that also include the square footage as well? Would that be grandfathered in, or would that just be a point of discussion for later?
I think through the
No, it's a
chair, I
good
think that's
question.
the question at hand to be posed to
It
the
is.
building official. Go ahead,
Can
Dave,
I
sorry.
speak to
Got
this?
it.
It is a good question, and it is in line with what I was going to ask. So Julia and Mike and Mr. Brewer, we need to know then if with the grandfathered rights and with the new proposed setback request, is there another number percentage-wise for coverage that's acceptable? Or
Right.
is it open for interpretation to the building official and the planning board or the zoning board?
Yeah, because it's such an interesting, unusual case, having been grandfathered in for it's a different grade of property. It's in an interesting place. Like, we have the different acreage requirements now, and it seems like it's an improvement on the property to what's there currently. But I think it's good to consider, like, how do you fit grandfathered properties into modern regulations?
Exactly. And what, if any, is the new percentage going to be allowed the applicant?
Mr. Chair, Joe had his hand up.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Joe.
sorry.
Okay,
ahead.
I just wanted to speak to this if I can.
Yes.
Being a substandard lot of record, I don't know if the percentages come in play, if that was not in part of the original zoning back before 1967. If there was a percentage in the zoning at that time or not. I don't believe there was a percentage of coverage back then. Now, he's protected being a substandard lot of record. Also under section 38.228, lawfully existing and established building structures or uses of land, there's some language in there that, allows people that have pre-existing, as it was used as residential. I mean, trailers aren't allowed in the town anymore. So I think when Mr. Brewer came to the planning board, I was a member at that time. He was looking to put a larger trailer, and he was told he couldn't because he could only replace it with the same size trailer.
Right.
So he opted out of that. And at that time, I had suggested that, he could put a house on the lot because it's a substandard lot of record. So that is allowed. So I don't know if the percentages come into play because he was, the original trailer was over the 3% and it was allowed. So obviously before 1967, that 3% wasn't in our zoning ordinance. So I think he does have an avenue there where that wouldn't come into play here.
Yeah, I think my concern is that the minute you're changing what's on the property, I think it then should come back up, at least as a discussion point, because you could build every square inch, and that's not that rural character that we're all supposed to be protecting in the town. But again, I only bring it up because per the application, there's only a handful of these dwellings listed, and they only equate to just over 7%. So I hate to move forward without at least us being notified. And I think it's within our jurisdiction. Actually, just mention that there's a percent. Let me use the word exactly out of our document. Is maximum building coverage that's in our code.
I think Mandy has a good point, Mike Antonellis and Julia. I think Mandy brings up a good point. There's got to be in the back of our minds, I think, how much of a dwelling we can allow. If the 3% is not an issue, is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 12? So I think Mandy brings up a valid point.
If there is concern about like a slippery slope situation by allowing an 11.7% coverage here, you'd have to allow it elsewhere. Part of granting this variance is determining whether or not there is a hardship based on the standard, the size, the lot of land. So it's due to the unique characteristics of the land. Now, 11.5% of this half-acre lot is not going to be the same as 11.5% of the normal 5-acre lot that exists. So it can be very detailed and very specific to Mr. Brewer's situation, to this particular lot. And it will not be a slippery slope going forward for others, because the hardship and the unique characteristics of this awkward half-acre lot only exist on this lot.
Julia,
I
can you,
will say, sorry, I'll have something to say when there's a chance. I'll raise my hand over the phone.
sorry, my question, Julia, was I'm trying to figure out the word hardship because, you know, it may mean something different to all of us. But I think that, you know, if hardship means can you not build within the conformity of our code, that's very different than another definition. Could you help me understand what that means?
Yeah. So generally, the hardship that would be suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, won't just be a mere inconvenience, that there would be no other reasonable alternative for him to use this lot.
Okay,
And
so
I guess that's something I was wondering about. So, and maybe Mr. Brewer, you can help answer this more, because I know where the property is and I pulled it up on Google Maps. How much of the property is abutted by the land for the water supply that cannot be accessed at all?
The entire west side and south side.
And the north and the east side, the east side has another private dwelling on it, right?
It does. The north side is Plainfield Pike.
Yeah. Yep.
The east side, if you're driving down the road, it looks like there's a chained off old road there that has a chain going across it for no access. I honestly don't know if that is a watershed access point between my lot and the other lot. Those two lots, 13 and 15, they were both sister lots back in the early 1900s. And they abutted one another. I'll be honest with you, with the research, I did not do the research to see if that piece on the east side that looks like an old driveway that has a chain going across it with a padlock on it is actually an access for the Providence Water Supply Board, or my neighbors, who it's a daughter and an elderly woman. Actually, the woman passed away, unfortunately, this year. You know, put that up for some reason. I don't know why that's there. So I can't answer the question of whether or not the east property line is abutted by Situate Reservoir or by my neighbor.
And the grade is pretty steep on the property from what I remember. Like it's a pretty distinct drop from the road on the north.
It is. That's why the guardrail's there, and that's why the driveway goes in at a 45-degree angle rather than 90 degrees off the road.
So if you were to, the only way to access your property for sure would be from the north via steep grade. You'd be unable to access it from the south or the west. And the east has a road that is potentially the neighbor's property, maybe for the Situate water supply, but it's not currently easily accessible and would need to be looked at to be assessed if you were to access it. So I'm just thinking in terms of hardship. I mean, I have luckily a little more land in Foster and plenty of egress to it, so I can, and it's fairly flat, so I can see like that's definitely an unusual place to build on.
Yeah, there's no other place for the driveway. The driveway couldn't go to the west side or go perpendicular to Plainfield Pike.
I don't envy you plowing it in the winter, that's for sure.
I've been plowing it. Your plow truck there. I just put the plow on it the other day. Last week when I thought it was going to snow.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just know it's getting kind of late. I know Brad, I think, had to go. Brad, are you still with us, or do you need to leave? Hold on, he's muted. Can you unmute yourself, Brad?
Like, I think as host, you can unmute people as well.
Here he is.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still with you for a little bit longer.
Okay. It's about 7:10 now. When do you...
I just to add a little bit there. What he should be eligible to build a building for at least the total square footage that he already has on all his buildings put together.
Right.
Regardless of, because it's a non-conforming pre-zone lot. So he should be, I don't know, so what's the difference between the building, the square footage he wants to build, and the total square footages of all the buildings he has on the property? Now some of them buildings may not have building permits at some point, so maybe they're not even eligible.
Well, can I offer something to the board through the chair?
Yes, sir.
And Julia, follow me if you think this fits within conditions. If the board were to favor the application, it's your decision, obviously, if you were to grant the variance, I think it would be possible if the board was agreeable to impose a condition that the building coverage can go up to whatever the current building coverage is as it stands today, and you can include other buildings, maybe outbuildings on that. And that way, it won't conflict with any sort of determination that the building official might have to make in the future of what counts as building coverage, and then it also wouldn't prevent or conflict any future application if when Mr. Brewer went to go pull a building permit and the building official goes and looks at it and says, oh, hey, this is doesn't conform with the building coverage, you need a variance, you need to go to the zoning board of review. It wouldn't conflict with any possible necessary variances to this board. Does that make sense? And Julia, do you think that's all right?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we could bring it right back around to stay on point, Mike and Julia, I was wondering, so if we do move to continue on the variance for the setbacks, we can add, to your point, Mike, we can add that there be a limit to the square footage. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the only note on that is the only details I have are the ones that are contained inside the application.
Right.
And I'd be okay with that because they were offered in the application. I'm a little concerned about calling a carport square footage usage. So I'd want to make sure that we're very careful, because that rural character piece is very important, not only to the town, but it should be in sort of how this lot presents itself to the rest of the rural nature.
And through the chair, that's an important consideration that you should take into mind when you're voting. I mean, obviously you have the specific criteria that you'll be voting on. That's in the standards worksheet that I distributed, but that's an important aspect of that, considering the master plan. And I lost where I was going with that. I stumbled over that bit.
No,
But,
we're not
no,
gonna
that's
count.
what I was going to say is that you can also, I don't mean to try and wrap things up for you tonight. I was just, when you do make a decision, when you do come to a decision, you can, that's just important consideration. But in the meantime, you can ask for more information. So Manny, what you're getting at is, if you need more information in order to make that sort of determination, feel free to ask for it, and you can continue the meeting to another date in hopes of getting that information in order to make a better decision.
Okay, I don't know when that would happen, but there's at least through it. I'm not sure if it's called testimony of Mr. Brewer, but there were three concerns I have. Is the square footage of the new dwelling seems larger than a 2-bedroom, and the OTWS appears to be a 2-bedroom system. So I don't know how that impacts the request of the current setbacks, number one. Number two is there's a list of dwellings on the documentation. So if there's some that are missing, I think those would be important. And I think the third one is it's going to be really important to know, because you could conceivably shrink some of the shape of the homes to get more conformance if those other aspects start piggybacking. So it's sort of a chicken and the egg issue. So I'd like more information, certainly. And David, I think at least those two is to understand the design changes to the OTWS if it moves from a 2 to a 3 bedroom, and then the actual categorization and sizes of dwellings outside of the new proposed dwelling.
Okay, so Mr. Brewer, sir, do you understand what's taken place so far, the conversation?
Do.
Okay,
Joe has his hand up.
go ahead, Mr. Carey.
Okay, yes, I only had a couple points. I know that there was some concern about the rural character. Now we have I know the building, there's a rundown trailer and a bunch of sheds and shacks over there right now. So a single family residence would be a definite improvement over what's there now. So I don't think that this is gonna really impact, would actually improve the area with a house there instead of a trailer with a bunch of, broken down sheds. So I think there's, a good reason to upgrade and get the trailer out of there, which we don't allow in town now for a reason, because they're unsightly. And, I think, he's doing the best he can. I think there is a question of the coverage, but as far as my familiarity with as far as I'm familiar with the substandard lots of record, there is a lot of leeway as far as what you can build on a smaller lot, because it is such a small lot and it was developed in an earlier time. So I think, we have to do some research and find out what is applicable there, so maybe that 3% won't apply, but I think, a house is definitely an improvement over a trailer.
Well, Mr. Carey and Joe, I agree, and Manny brings up two individual great points. One is, in my opinion, how much coverage is acceptable. Giving Mr. Brewer the leeway that he needs to put up a house, we all agree is a good thing. But how much coverage do we grant over and above the normal percentage? And Mandy brought up a good second point. If the application is for a 2-bedroom septic system design, how much further will it infringe on the process if it has to be enlarged, which it may not. That's up to Mr. Brewer, but I think those are questions that are pretty substantial that may need to be answered. And so, Julia, how would we proceed? Would we proceed with a motion? Should we request a motion from the chair to continue? And if that passes or is denied, will that determine how we go forward tonight?
Yes. So I was actually just going to bring this up because we're closing in on 7:30, and I believe Mr. Smith had to be somewhere at 7:30. And it appears that you guys are not prepared to resolve this tonight, and that you guys would like additional information. So we would need to move to continue it, and you may place information, require Mr. Brewer to bring in information. If you guys would like additional information with regards to making the septic tank larger, if it is going to be a 3-bedroom house, and bring in documentation and provide us with documentation with respect to the coverage of the lot currently with all of the buildings. Just documentation for you guys that explicitly states the coverage of the buildings before you come back to then have to continue the hearing on the next date that you guys continue the hearing. I do want to note that in the motion, you need to state the date that the hearing will be continued to. And if at that hearing, no one is prepared or someone is unprepared to go forward, a motion to continue again to the following date would need to happen again. You can only move to continue to the next date each time. You can only continue to one date, not to December 15th, and then subsequent meetings. It can only be to one date at a time.
Okay, thank you. Mike Antonellis, what's your recommendation on information that you've, like, what have you garnered from this discussion? How should we put it in writing for Mr. Brewer, or verbally? Like, what are we technically looking for? Septic design, is it going to be 2-bedroom or 3 proposed? I know we were only supposed to rule on the setback, but there seems to be some good questions left unanswered. So how do you feel about that?
Well, it sounds like the coverage is really going to come down to, it sounds like, a condition of approval more than anything, rather than an actual ruling about it, because obviously you can't, because it hasn't been applied for. As far as information that you may need, I mean, I'll certainly leave that up to Mr. Brewer, but it sounds to me like what would be good is to have a complete inventory of all the structures on the land with measurements of them. How would you like that information provided? Would you like sort of informal measurements by Mr. Brewer? Are you requiring that the survey be updated and have that sort of thing included? What are you comfortable with proceeding on that?
I think, if the board agrees, I think that Mr. Brewer's testimony of the measurements, and Mr. Linares had a good point, maybe not a carport, but maybe the dwellings that are important and pertinent to the end result. We're looking for actual square footage of dwellings. So if Mr. Brewer could come up with actual dimensions, and he could present to the board his idea, is his proposed use of the dwelling going to be 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom? We just want to be more clear. I think Mr. Linares' point, and the point of the board, the chair, is that we need to have all the information and be confident that we have it all.
David, could I make one maybe assistance on that? Is
Sure.
I think what would be really helpful is there was a few attempts at drawing the lot sort of I don't know if it's plot or I'm not sure the right word, but like from a top-down view. It would be really helpful just to combine them all into even a hand sketch. I think that hand measure or measurements are fine. I think the most important part is a drawing with the sizes and the type of dwelling or structure, I should say, would be really helpful in just assessing, because there's a pretty large carport in one of the drawings. It'd just be nice to know where it is and that it's a carport and that it's not it's a temporary structure, which is different. So I think that would be helpful. And then some clarification, Mr. Brewer, on the OTWS in your plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you asking for me to submit to the DEM a new plan for the OTS?
I don't think that's what I'm asking for. I'm saying it says 2-bedroom. If your plan is 3, the impact that it would have on your setback relief request would be very helpful.
Well, it won't affect that. And the reason it says 2-bedroom on the plan is because that's when I tried to replace it with another mobile home that was turned down. It's not going to affect the 42 feet and the 27 feet corner of that building one iota.
I think it's
4-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 10-bedroom septic system. It's not going to affect my request for the setback. I'm not requesting a variance on the side of the property where the septic system is going. I'm not asking for a variance in the frontage setback from the road. So it's not necessary. And I, quite frankly, to go spend thousands of dollars on a dream home is ridiculous.
Well, for
approval to build a home,
I think it would
gotta ultimately build that home in compliance with my 42 setback request and my 27 setback request, if that's what I'm granted. And then I'm gonna have to adjust and ultimately have the house designed around what I'm gonna build, whether or not it's a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, or a 2-bedroom to accommodate the septic system. And that's not gonna affect my request for setbacks.
I think it's important that you added that because it adds to the definition of what your hardship is.
But that means I have to go have it designed.
You mentioned that you could build a smaller house and already put in a request. So I just want to
build a 2-story house and put an elevator in it.
Okay.
David Donna has her hand up.
Yes,
But
Donna.
that's,
I was just, I know we've talked a lot about the outbuildings and the square footage of the outbuildings, but I'm just wondering how many of those outbuildings actually were approved through the building inspector. So did that person acquire building permits that were approved? And if they were approved, then I think that we would have a very specific square footage number that Mr. Brewer can use to strengthen his case. If there's just a chicken coop thrown up in a corner that's falling down, that may not have been approved through the building inspector.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear any of that. I don't know if you
So
could-
Michael.
what Donna was asking for is to have, just make sure that any buildings really that are noted on the property currently have the appropriate permits in place so that we can verify that they would be, I guess, grandfathered, for lack of a better word, or not even that, to just inform your decision going forward, I think is best.
So Michael, I think Mr. Brewer is understood in his concern about the septic. So I'm going to ask you that I think the concern is if the design is larger and infringes on the house placement, we may have been concerned that it would have pushed the building back and infringed on that approved setback. But I think, as you said to me many times before, that's up to the building official when they inspect and do their thing. So I think Mr. Brewer's point is well taken, that the septic design may not really be a concern of ours. Do you agree?
So, yeah, with respect to what Manny was bringing up as a legitimate concern, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Mr. Chair. Whereas, I mean, I think I had suggested it prior, whereas you can put in a condition of approval that the outs, be approved. Obviously, it would have to be anyway, sort of thing. But, those sorts of things are not, I understand what Manny's saying, whereas a larger system, what he's getting at, might push the building envelope to a certain side and encroach even further and require further variances. Yes.
That's what I interpreted.
However, the on-site wastewater treatment system does need to be approved through, I think it's DEM or the Department of Public Health. I forget which one. So it needs to go through them, and it will be, well, I don't say will be, so supposedly it will be approved, whatever that design will be. If that design ends up needing to be bigger, this kind of goes back to what Mr. Brewer was saying, he will have to accommodate for that in some way in order to meet what is being granted with the variance. Or if he does need to push the building envelope, he would need to come back to the board. So
Exactly.
you can certainly make a decision on the information that you have right now, assuming that it all remains constant. Now, that doesn't, you're not losing anything as a result of that, because if things were to change, he would need to come back. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. So we're circling back again to, we're approving a setback variance only. And
Correct.
it's in his build is subject to the approval tonight.
Correct.
I had a quick question, if this is a good place.
Sure.
With respect to Mr. Brewer's dedication to this, and to help me kind of understand the request just for the setback for the zoning variance, how many other zoning applications have you filed for this property? Because it sounded like originally you're doing possibly a mobile home and now a house, and it just would help me to understand, because it seems like you're very dedicated to building here. I'm just curious how many different zoning applications you've applied so far.
just the one last year for the mobile home, and we withdrew that one. That was withdrawn. It wasn't acted upon. It was withdrawn based on the town planner at the time, met with the town solicitor at the time, and they basically issued me a letter prior to it actually being heard by the zoning that because I wanted to relocate the mobile home, it would not be
Right.
acceptable. So
And then you
I formally
came back with a house
withdrew.
plan. Got
I
it.
formally withdrew the request before the board. So this is the only request that I've put before the board.
Okay.
There was a zoning hearing in 2007, which was granted by a previous owner to operate a commercial business for small engine repair.
I saw that. Okay, thank you. Because I saw the application too, and I was like, wait, that's not for this. So it's for previous. Got it.
That was for previous. The application asked for information on any known previous zoning allowances. Now,
I will
would
say that
also
Sorry, go ahead.
just point out one other thing, that unfortunately, from my position, I can go out and measure all those buildings. I don't know how old any of them are. And I do know that one's in pretty poor condition, actually, but the power's still on, and the power's on in all of those buildings. My point is, I would find it highly unlikely that any of those buildings ever had a permit, because they were probably all built prior to permit requirements, just like when the mobile home was put there.
Yeah.
I know that I'm looking now at the tax card, and it doesn't talk about any of those buildings being there. But we all know that they've been there for many, many, many years. But it doesn't even say that there's 5 outbuildings or 10 outbuildings or 4 outbuildings. So when I heard that one of the requests might be put on me to limit it to those buildings which granted some kind of a building permit for, I'd probably be willing to gamble that none of them are. Because there would have been an issue with them violating all of the setback requirements. Because every one of those buildings is built around the perimeter of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. I'd like to reel it in a little bit. So Julio, should we, with respect to Mr. Lanera's concern, should we entertain a motion to continue, obviously in the affirmative? And if we agree or disagree, we can proceed with the remainder of the meeting, or we can adjourn.
So if you guys do want additional information, and again, that's totally up to you. I think at this point, because it is 7:30 and I believe Mr. Smith needs to hop off, we would need to make that motion now and cease all conversation about this issue at this point, because Mr. Chairman, you will not be able to be present and partake in the next hearing. And Mr. Smith will then be taking over a member position rather than just an alternate position. And he would need to have the full hearing, have been present for the full hearing. So we wouldn't be able to talk about it once he left. As far as the motion goes, what you would want to require from Mr. Brewer is entirely up to you guys. It will, the motion will need to be to continue this matter and give a specific date as to when you will be continuing this matter to. And as long as this matter is continued by motion, no re-advertising is necessary. The same notice shall be sufficient, especially since you already gave abutters an opportunity to speak and no one was present.
Thank you.
Would you entertain
let's-
that motion?
Well, let's close the discussion. It's 7:33. Let's close the discussion. Mike, when would be if we were to continue, what would be the next meeting date available?
I think you guys typically meet on the second Wednesday of each month. That would bring you to December 9th.
No conflicts? Okay. So
I don't believe there are any conflicts at that time. Excuse me. Actually, that might be a planning board meeting night. Let me, hold on a second. Let me mute myself and look at that.
Okay, check out over here.
Mr. Smith, can you hang on for another 2 minutes?
I'm already 3 minutes behind.
Well, we just have to have a date. We have to have a date. And everyone
I'm
needs to
going
vote.
to be walking into the hockey rink. I'm going to lose service.
Okay, well, you just need to be able to vote on the new date, on the motion.
Hey, make it quick
Do-
because I got 1 minute. They're making ice, and I got to get on the ice.
Do we want to, I mean, we can put it to December 2nd. That definitely won't be a conflict with anything. I don't think it's your typical meeting time, but we can do a special meeting for that. Julia?
I would also just like to point out that if you guys are not ready to go on December 2nd, you can again continue it to another date. You just have
Right,
to.
that's why I moved it up, yeah.
Thank you,
Mike?
Julia. Thank you, Michael. So,
Can you-
Manny, let's make a motion in the affirmative, please. We'll entertain a motion.
Okay, so I just looked it up. It looks like, Michael, it's the 12th on my calendar. So I'd like to make a motion. You're going to use the 2nd, Michael? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, David, that we continue this for December 2nd. And my request is, the request of Mr. Brewer is provide a drawing of all of the dwellings with type designation on the dwellings.
Can we call them structures, please? Dwellings by definition are places where someone lives, where someone can sleep. So because they're sheds in non-livable areas, structures.
All structures, including dwellings.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do we have a second?
Location.
I second that.
Second.
Thank you, Donna. All opposed? All
Discussion,
in favor?
discussion,
Aye.
please.
Oh, sorry, discussion,
Discussion.
Joe, thank you.
All right, I just want to clarify, I think the 9th was the correct date. Usually the planning board is the 1st and 3rd Wednesday. Zoning is the 2nd Wednesday of the month. So you might want to just amend the motion to make it for the 9th.
oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, let's do the 9th.
I'd
Actually,
like to
Manny?
amend it to the
we
9th.
approved the 9th last
We
year.
okay?
I'd like to amend it to the 9th, if that's okay.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion?
Can we get it re-seconded?
Yes, Donna
Second
Kazari.
that motion.
All in favor? We need a roll call.
Gotta do a roll call. All right, Donna,
Aye.
Zephyr,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
and I, or Joe, Carey.
All right, thanks,
motion
Brad.
passed.
Okay, thank you. See you on, what was it, the 9th?
The 9th.
Okay. Very
In
good.
touch, thanks.
Okay, so everyone, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Brewer. We're good. So why don't we make a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, David. Mr. Chair.
Second,
That.
roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we need a roll call for adjournment?
Yeah, we don't
No.
need that for adjournment, but that's okay.
We don't need it for adjournment, but I was just being generous.
Okay, Donna?
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
all right, thanks to Mr. Brewer.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank
I'll
you.
get you the,
Thank
some kind of a
you.
drawing of all the buildings and
We'll be in touch.
whatnot. Thank you.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
And congrats again, David.
Thank you, sir.